Saw dudes, I grinded my butt off to max out my melee duplicate arcanes. Each copy costs about 100 platinum on the trading market, and the only way to get it in-game otherwise is through the Netracell activity where it has a 5.62% drop chance. Yikes. The reason why I wanted to get this arcane is because it has one of the most unique and powerful effects for melee weapons. At max rank, this arcane has a 100% chance to cause yellow crits to hit enemies twice. For certain weapons, this makes them viable again. For others, it makes them insanely easy to use and bring to level cap content with some external help. This video is quite lengthy, so to save your time, I put timestamps. Please use them to navigate. Let's get started. First, let's go over the special interactions. When I picked up the arcane for the first time, I wanted to know if the duplicated melee hits inflicted status effects or work with specialized mods such as Blood Rush, Weeping Wounds, and Shattering Impact. As far as I can tell, the hits inflicted by the arcane are literal duplicates of your modded melee, so there is no nerf damage or lack of status. The arcane creates a separate damage instance that will reroll the chance to apply status and the critical tier. The duplicated hit can be either non-critical, tier 1 yellow crits, or tier 2 orange crits. The biggest advantage that I found using this arcane is that 4 status procs from the stance hits will be duplicated. This makes it act like 57 Leaf Clover from Risk of Rain 2, allowing you to reroll additional status effects on every duplicated hit, scaling off the status chance of the melee weapon. We will delve more into this later when we hit the build sections. What I found extremely interesting was that the arcane allowed for multiple procs of Shattering Impact, a mod that reduces the base armor of enemies by 6 whenever they are hit by an attack. This only works if the melee weapon in question deals impact damage, but it does not require an impact proc to trigger. To test this, I went into the Simulacrum and bullied a heavy gunner. I equipped the Shattering Impact mod on my Praedos and went to town, making sure to hit the heavy gunner once and count how many times it took to completely strip away the armor. Without melee duplicate, it took 84 hits to completely remove the armor. For the next test, I slotted Blood Rush and Melee Duplicate in addition to Shattering Impact. I find it important to mention that Blood Rush scales the crit chance to 108% as seen in the table. This means that we have guaranteed yellow crits at 12 times combo with an 8% chance to orange crit. These orange crits will only strike the target once. For this test, it only took 44 swings, almost half of the first. The 2 extra hits can be attributed to the orange critical hits. Allow me to refer you all back to the Blood Rush chart. For Melee Duplicate to work its best, you want to have a melee weapon that has a critical chance of 100% or have one that gets extremely close to it when at 12 times combo. Melee weapons with a base crit chance of 20% have the best chance of utilizing Melee Duplicate when using a light attack build with Blood Rush. 22% base crit chance is acceptable, but you will start to notice the increasingly common orange crits interfere with the arcane. For those of you who don't like using Blood Rush and prefer to slap Sacrificial Steel onto melee weapons and call it a day, use weapons with a base critical chance of 32%. This will bump the crit chance to 102.4% at all times, meaning that it will fail to proc duplicate only 2.4% of the time due to orange crits. Weapons that fit this criteria are Grand Prime, Destreza Prime, Guandao Prime, Venka Prime, and Dual Carries Prime. Regardless of what method you use when running Melee Duplicate, the most important stats after critical chance is crit damage and status chance. You can't go too far above 100% crit chance without devaluing the arcane, so to keep the damage up, crit damage is essential. Status chance allows swings to have an even higher chance to proc slash, which is what we want in higher level content. This can usually be solved with Weeping Wounds. So why are Praedos and Gunsen Prime chosen as the main weapons to use Melee Duplicate on? It all has to do with their base crit chance, status chance, slash weight, and stance choice. Both have a base crit chance of 20%, which is perfect for Melee Duplicate procs when at 12 times combo with Blood Rush. They both have decent status chances for Weeping Wounds to take advantage of. Gunsen Prime has a base of 34%, meaning that it has a higher chance of applying status effects than Praedos at 20%. Both weapons have an amazing slash weight. Praedos has an 80% slash weight, and Gunsen Prime has a staggering 90% slash weight. If you've been paying attention, you'll notice that Gunsen Prime out DPSs Praedos by a bit. This is due to the large status chance and base damage disparity. If you are looking for pure DPS without utility, Katana's Warfans are for you. Finally, both stances that we will be using today, Sovereign Outcast and Votive Onslaught, have amazing multipliers. The neutral E combo for both stances has an average 770% damage multiplier and 4 slash procs. Both have great mobility and horizontal coverage. These are all things that Melee Duplicate can take advantage of. Let's cover the builds for both weapons real quick. We'll start with the Praedos Comfort build. For all weapon builds mentioned today, we will be slotting in Melee Duplicate. The Incarnon evolutions I suggest using are Drifting Grace, Shockwave Synergy, Evolved Ascension, and Universal Readiness. The stance is Sovereign Outcast. As already mentioned, the stance has great multipliers. The bulk of your damage will come from the neutral E combo, and you will use this against Demolist or chunky units. The Exilus slot can be taken up by any Tennokai mod. However, you will want to use Dreamer's Wrath for the best damage possible. This mod increases Tennokai pop-up chance and heavy attack critical damage by 32%. This crit damage bonus is additive to other crit damage mods. Tonfa heavy attacks force proc slash, which is buffed by critical damage multipliers. Prime Breach increases our attack range by 3 meters for quality of life. Blood Rush bumps up our crit chance to 108% at max combo and lets us take advantage of melee duplicate consistently. Condition Overload ramps up our damage over time and allows us to use a primer secondary or primary if desired. Organ Shatter increases our critical damage for increased damage on our critical hits and does apply to melee duplicate. Spring-Loaded Blade grants us a meter of attack range for 24 seconds on a status effect, stacking up to 2 times. In Incarnon form, this will give us a 10.5 meter attack range for easy crowd clearing. Weeping Wound stacks our total status chance to 108% for increased slash proc chance. I call this the comfort build for a reason. Shattering Impact works insanely well for shredding armor on tough targets. You might be thinking, why use that when you can use Vassalock? Well, melee duplicate applies a 6 base armor reduction twice on crits, and in real missions it only takes about 3 seconds to apply the full shred permanently. This means you can use a secondary or primary weapon that can shred them. Unlike Vassalock, you still have a perfectly serviceable melee weapon that can clear hordes easily. Drifting Contact increases our status chance and combo duration for ease of use. If you are using a Dexterity Arcane on either your primary or secondary, this can be swapped out for a Riven or attack speed mod. If you are serious about heading to level cap, then you will want to swap out Shattering Impact and Drifting Contact for a Bane mod and Gladiator Might. The Bane mod will double dip for massively increased slash proc damage. Gladiator Might will increase crit damage by 60%, which will increase the slash proc damage again. If you have a Riven, you can use it instead of Gladiator Might. Let's move on to the Gunsen Prime build. This is literally the same as the Praedos build because you can run the same shown comfort setup without any worries. I'm just using Mentor's Legacy because I didn't want to format the weapon again. If anything, the Warfan variant of the build has a higher DPS ceiling. Warfans attack faster than Tonfas at base, and the base damage and slash weight of Gunsen Prime is higher than that of Praedos. Again, if you intend to go to level cap, swap out the last 2 mods at the bottom right for Gladiator Might and the appropriate Bane mod. For the best performance, I recommend using a primer. This can be Epitaph or Kuva Nukor. I prefer to use my Kuva Nukor with the Magnetic Progenitor because it handles all factions well. Magnetic takes care of corpus shielding, Radiation covers Grineer units, and Heat works for the Infested. Viral bumps up our slash and damage over time effects. This build is especially great for the Praedos, which is commonly seen as a side grade to the Cronen Prime. While Cronen Prime has far superior DPS with the same build, without the melee arcane, it lacks the utility and ease of use that Praedos comes with inherently. Praedos has built-in 3 meters of extended range and 40% attack speed in Incarnon form. It grants the user 20% bonus sprint and slide speed and 30% extra parkour velocity. So not only does it do insane damage, it can do it comfortably and let users traverse maps faster and more easily. Shattering Impact is just nice to have, since you may not want to run a frame that can armor strip or put a helmet ability on a frame. Of course, you can run Vassalock or Sarpa, but then your melee slot can no longer contribute to ad clear and is only used to strip demolish your units. I run Praedos in every mission. It just makes gameplay more fluid. With the melee update, it got even better. The introduction of Tennokai made these Tonfas really stand out. There's no need to worry about combo count when you can easily get back to 12 times with slams. Even going into Incarnon form is relatively easy thanks to the Tennokai system, where heavy attacks cost literally nothing. That means you can effectively run a hybrid setup and get some of the heavy attack build benefits. For both weapons mentioned today, you can outsource attack speed. This can be from arcanes like Arcane Strike or Warframes such as Gauss or Valkyr. There are a ton of options, however be careful when using Arcane Avenger. Too much crit chance can prevent melee duplicate from proccing. Alright everyone, those are the builds for both Praedos and Gunsen Prime. I realize that many of you already use these weapons or other meta options. However, I haven't seen anyone cover melee duplicate in the same way. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you found it helpful in any way, please consider subbing. As always, thank you all for watching, and happy farming.